what point does it take leaders like you, who have just stepped down from leading these big companies, to jump into the ring, into politics, and affect change? And CEO after CEO that I ask says no.
This one, add another one to it.
But, it's funny.
I'll get to it. I'll get there.
To an extent, but why? Why?
If I thought that the effort that I put into the political arena was an effort that would have more impact, equal to or more impact than the effort I do today, I would do it. I am a real believer that it will not. And I know that it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing, right? So if you don't get involved, you can't have it have more impact, so on and so on. But I think if I did that, I wouldn't be able to do most of the things that I'm passionate about doing now. If you could transport me into the role, I would actually feel better about taking it than if I had to run. And it's not the running part that I'm fairly competitive, but it's such BS right now that we go through to run, just to run. I just need to get, if you want somebody to actually do a job, I think I would be a reasonable person to do certain kind of work. But before I can even walk in the door, there's this other stuff that you have to do, which is ridiculous. You know, that you have to kind of know more about me than my husband knows about me. I have to be more saintly than Jesus Christ was.
And we know you're not a nun.
And I'm not a nun.
Yeah.
And
that we know.
My husband knows me pretty well. So I don't want, and. So I do understand that I'm copping out a bit by saying, not me now. And I feel guilty about that. This is what Cathedral did to me. Thank you very much. The guilt.
Catholic guilt.
And the Catholic guilt. I may actually have to change my mind at some point, but I think that we need to do a little bit more structural repair of the political system before I get involved.
Have you been to the White House in the last 6 months?
Absolutely not.
So, if you were invited, because a number of tech CEOs, as you know, have gone and been invited, sat with the president, would you go? What would you say, Ursula?
My message to the White House, any administration, is the same. And it is the same because this is not a political issue. We've made it a political issue. This is a human issue. This is a long-term America issue. My message, Democrat, Republican, Obama, Trump, has been and would be that people need structures in society that enable them to do better in the future. One of the major things that government has to do is that. So what are those structures? Education, a foundation in education which today is defined almost totally by income and geography, which is the most amazing thing in the world. When I was growing up, we went to Most Holy Redeemer. My mother was Catholic. That made it easy. The Most Holy Redeemer was my grade school and Cathedral my high school. But even if we weren't Catholic, we would have gone to that school. A lot of kids in the school in Most Holy Redeemer were Jewish because it was the safest, best school in the neighborhood. The public schools were not adequate enough for my mother to assure. So, and by the way, we're now 40 years later, and guess what? We're about in the same place. Yeah. So education, healthcare. To have a debate about whether or not you can get glasses if you need them is one of the most bizarre debates in the world. Money should not be the foundation of those decisions, and definitely not class shouldn't be the foundation of those decisions, but that's what they are today. And I say this to anyone who's in power. That's what we pay taxes for. Yeah. That's what the responsibility of government is. That's what the responsibility of people who are as well. And this is the responsibility of corporations. We have to come together not to give. We don't have, I love this idea of giving back. Back? Who's back? We have to give aside. We're all the same. We're forward. You have to give somewhere, but it's not back. Right? We have to give forward. So I actually would say the same thing. If I were invited, I would go. Okay. But I'm not the CEO anymore, so I'm hoping like heck I don't get invited.
You're still pretty important.